Okay, last time we started to add some specific rules to our div tags, to our different sections, header, footer, content, sidebar, nav bar. We also added some text in the different sections and made specific CSS rules or specific selectors and properties for different text and stuff. Let's look at the code for that real fast. Here's my CSS code. You can see where we've added specific text properties for our H2 for the content section, H1 paragraph text, H3 paragraph text for the side, paragraph links for the aside, paragraph hover rules for the aside. Alright, so let's go back and see how we can add a navigation bar. We'll see how we add a editable region for our template, and we will also create a page, our index page, which will be based on this template. Remember, in our template, we're getting everything in the parts that aren't editable on the other pages. We're getting those ready here. We're preparing the header, nav bar, sidebar, and footer. And we're defining some text in the content. And all these areas will be fixed in the template. The content area is the only area we will change on the other pages. Okay, so I'm going to add some text, some navigation buttons for our navigation bar. I'll show you a pretty easy way to do some pretty nice buttons, our navigation buttons. So let me click the nav bar. I'm going to go to my CSS rules for my nav bar. I'm just going to change that background color so you can see when I'm typing, you can see it a little better. Let me get that nice pink color there. There we go. I'm going to position my cursor within the navigation bar. I'm going to type out my basic links, my basic pages. Home, space, about, space, tickets, space, and contact. Okay. I'm going to highlight the word home. I'm going to come down here in my properties window and make that a link to index.html. I'm going to highlight the word about. I'm going to make that a link to about.html. Make sure there's no capital letters, no additional punctuation besides the dot in the HTML. I'm going to highlight the word tickets. I want to make sure I'm not highlighting any spaces or any other extra words, just the word tickets. I'll make that a link to tickets.html. Let me highlight the word contact. Make that a link to the contact.html. Okay, so now they've all changed to my link color, my default link color, which I changed to red. But I don't really like the look of that. I don't like the font, so I want to do some CSS rules. I also want to give it a look of a button, so I'll put a box around there, making it look like a button. So I can position my cursor within any of these words that are links, and I'm going to add a new selector in my CSS designer panel. It's going to suggest a selector named .container. I'm sorry, # container # nav space a. Well, I don't need the # container. I just need the nav space # nav space a. So I'm going to make some rules for links that are in the navigation bar. So let's hit enter. First thing I'm going to do is change the font and the text color. I want my font family to be Gotham, and I want the text color, I think I'm going to go with that pink, that nice manly pink color there, maybe a little darker. There we go. I also want to put some padding around there, which will give me the look of a button. So I'm still on that nav A rule layout section. If I scroll down to padding, actually before I do the padding, I'm going to do a background color. So let me put a background color around that text. And I'm just going to grab this green color I have up here. There we go. You can see there's some buttons around that text, but it's a little too tight. It doesn't look that good, so let me put some padding around there. So I'm going to the layout section, scrolling down to the padding, And on the right and left, there's no right or wrong. I'm going to do 20 and 20 of padding. On the top and the bottom, I'm just going to do 3 and 3. And we'll see how that looks. Looks pretty good. Can make them a little bigger, a little smaller. It's up to you. Maybe I'll make them a little bit bigger. I'm going to do 7 on the top for padding and 7 on the bottom. Okay, it still looks a little weird here in the design view. If I go to the live view, you can see a better shape of those buttons. Okay, not too bad. So let me go back to the design view. Actually, since I'm already selected here, I'm going to stay on the live view so you can see as it develops. I'm still on my # nav A selector. I changed the text font, the text color. I put a background on there. Just so you know, my background, instead of a solid color, I could put a gradient on there if I wanted to. So maybe I'll do that. I'm going to change the white to dark green. I'm going to change the red to that light green. Okay, now you can see there's that gradient back there. Well, I may need to change the color of my text. Let me change the color of the text again, just so it shows up against that green background. And maybe a little bit more pure. There, it looks pretty good. I'm going to have to change that gradient again. I don't like the way it's popping out there. So let me change this color, make it a little bit lighter. Now my text is pretty evident. Okay, another thing I can do is put a border around these buttons. I can go, I'm still on my Nav A rule. Click the border section up here, and I'm going to do a border. I can make it thin, thick, medium, whatever I want. Selecting the border, making it thin. I can make it medium. Got to select the style. It could be dotted, dash, solid, double. I'm going to say solid. And then I could change the color if I wanted to. Select this color here. And there we go. So now they're starting to look pretty cool. Pretty nice buttons. The only problem is when I put these on the nav bar, I can see how they're hovering too far above. They're not centered. Okay, so in order to center those on my nav bar, I'm going to have to change my line height. I'm on my nav bar A rule. Under the text section, right here it says line height. I can select that. We're going to adjust these by M's, EM. So I'm going to select this EM. And usually between 2.5 or 2.75 is the setting you want to enter in there, depending on your font. I did 2.75. Looks like it centered it pretty good. I could go down a little bit more, maybe 2.8. Okay, then I can preview this in Safari. See if it looks right. There you go. So they're pretty centered. They look pretty good there. I like the way they look. I like how they're centered within the nav bar. Well, I could center them horizontally also. So let me come back here. We'll do that in a second. So there's my navigation bar. Let me click off the live view. If I don't, or go on the live view, if I don't like that space between my buttons, I can click off the live view. Click to the left of each word and hit delete. Click to the left of this word, hit delete. To the left of contact, hit delete. And now you can see it's taken away the space between the buttons. Okay, so that's up to you. Now let's do the rollover effect. I'm off the live view. I got my cursor positioned within any of these words, any of these links. I'm going to add a new selector in my CSS Designer panel. And this one's calling it hashtag container, hashtag nav A. I can get rid of that container part. # nav space A. Well, I already have that. Now I have to do the hover rule, so I can add colon hover, H-O-V-E-R. Hit enter. Now I can do some changes here. I could change it. This is going to be the rollover effect. I could change the text color. Well, when I roll over it, I want it to be green. I would not want to change the text font. I would not want to change the size or anything like that. I just want to change the colors. I could also change the border color on the rollover. I'm not going to change the border size, just the color. Yeah, I'm going to make it green. Solid. And I can change the background color of that button. Or the background gradient if I wanted to. And I think that'll work good. A little too light here. Good. So now you can see the rollover effect. Just color changes. I wouldn't want to change any of the other effects or else it'll throw my buttons all over the place. Okay. So I preview this in Safari. You can see how I have a pretty good working navigation bar. Okay, if I wanted to center that, for that I'd have to go back to the, click on the nav bar. And on that nav bar rule in my CSS designer panel, my nav bar rule, hashtag or # nav bar, I can go to the text section and text align center, and that'll center my navigation bar that way. Preview in Safari, okay, and yes. So there we go. I got my template pretty much made. The header, I got a working nav bar, a working sidebar, and the only thing I don't have anything in is the footer. You can add whatever you want to the footer. You could add a copyright, you could add your name, you could add the name of your company or name of your website. You could add a navigation bar at the bottom also. It's up to you. I'm going to leave it the way it is for now. We also added some text in the content area and we formatted that. We'll actually change that in my other pages. Alright, so let's create an editable region. If I make a page based on this template right now, nothing will be editable. I won't be able to change anything on my other page. So I'm going to make a region we can change, we can edit. So I'm going to select my, get off the live view, select my content area here, and make sure it's selected. There's a border around there after I click on it. Down here in my pathway says body, container, then content, so I'm in the right area. I'm going to insert template editable region. By default, it's going to call it edit region 3. You can leave it like that or you can change it. I'm going to change it to content. And okay, it'll put its little blue tab around here. That's just emphasizing that this is editable. This blue tab is not visible in the browser. Let me save that. Okay, and now I can make a page based on this template. Here's how I do that. File, New. I click the Site Template selection. I'm in my right, I'm making sure I'm in the right folder, movies _CA, and there's my template, and say Create. It's a new page. It looks exactly the same. I'm just going to highlight this text and say, type in the words welcome. I'm going to highlight my title. This is going to be Zombie Flicks Movie Reviews and Previews. You can type in whatever you want, some keywords or description of your title. I'm going to have to save this now, so File, Save As. This should go right into my movies site folder. Okay, and this is my home page, so it should be called index.html. It should be saved as index.html and save. Okay, there's my index page. And now I can type whatever I need to in here. I could say welcome. I could say be afraid. Be very afraid. A great classic slogan from 80s horror movies. And I'm going to highlight my text. I'm going to say click on the posters below to see the movie reviews and previews. We're going to add some images here of the posters, and we're going to do that in the next video. We're going to see how we can make nested div tags and add some images. I'm going to save all to make sure all the updates are saved, and then I'll see you in the next